Welcome to the Madison County Board of Education special meeting here on September the 25th, beginning at 4:00 p.m. First, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll read our vision. Ms. Burford, would you care to read the vision?
Sure. Madison County Schools, in partnership with the community, strives to equip educators and students with the skills to lead by example, develop and speak a unique voice, and explore their academic curiosity to make a positive impact on our community and world.
Thank you very much. Ms. Wilson, do we have any? Thank you. Moving on to our action agenda. First is to approve the minutes of the September 11th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rutherford, second by who?
I'll say.
Second by Ms. Cobb. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 4B is to approve the 2025-2026 working budget. And we have Mr. Mark Woods.
He's got his homework. He's got a lot of papers.
A lot of stuff there.
We're gonna be here, Bob, going through this. We got some audience members that are gonna love this.
Y'all didn't know you were coming to a finance meeting.
We gotta go through this page by page.
Line by line.
And you can't leave early.
Yeah. You're gonna do that, then you need to go.
So thankfully, you all have a summary report that we'll go through. This is what our actual budget, the full budget looks like. That's what I've been through to get us to where we're at. So I'd like to start with a little bit of data. I know last time I pulled some charts and some other data for you as we've worked through the annual reports, we've worked through budgets. So I thought it'd be a good time to just kind of go through this before we get into the actual budget itself and go through some of those items. So looking at this next year's budget, this is what our revenue looks like. If you break it down by funding source, 50.47% will be local, so that'll be our tax dollars. The state is 48.51%, and then about 0.5% each for federal, and then some discretionary items. That's trending with where we ended last year. We've hit that point where as a district, we have to fund more locally than the state does because they consider us to be a property rich area. So they lower our seat, distribute that out to other districts, and we make up the difference in local. You can see here, I pulled the main expenditures of the budget by category. We put our money in instruction, and that's our number one goal around here, is to make sure that we're funding instruction as high as we can. And because ultimately that's, we're putting dollars into educating kids. So you can see this is pretty consistent as we've been. Really high there. Other high areas, as you can imagine, will be student transportation, and then your operations, plant operations maintenance. So repairing our buildings, doing electricity, all of our utilities. Other looks a little high, if you see that there. When you pull this into the budget, our contingency is a budget line item. So that inflates the other because we have our contingency money in there, and you actually have to put it in as an expense. So that's why it looks a little high. Otherwise, though, the categories, district admin, we're keeping that low. We're keeping our business support. That would be my department, HR, IT. We're keeping those budgets in line, keeping them low. We run a very lean budget and very lean on our expenditures. We try to maintain that and make sure that we focus all of our dollars in the proper area, which is instruction. All right. That's what our salary and fringe looks like for this year, 78.28% of the budget, the general fund budget. It's a tick down from where we ended last year, which is good. I like to see that number lower. You all know I like that. Just because I like to make sure we have plenty of operating money. Mr. Neely and I have talked. He's been to several superintendent meetings across the state and everything, and we run really well. Most every district is well over 80%. So we're doing really good. We're maintaining, making sure we pay our people well, but we're also maintaining a good level there so that we have money for emergencies and other things that come up. All right, I know this one is a little hard to see, but what you're looking at here, back in May, we brought the allocation reports to you after we'd been through all of our meetings, and you approved all the positions based on allocation, based on the allocation formula that is approved by the board. This is how that actually pans out. So when you're looking at this, the blue, that would be certified staff that are funded through allocation. The orange piece would be your classified staff, and the red is their Section 6 money that they are allocated through that. Section 6 is discretionary. It is the school's decision and their site base, how they plan to use that. Just to put a hard number on it, I did, and keep in mind, when you see the numbers there, that does not include the fringe benefits. That is just the salary alone. For the admin that are in that, so your principals, system principals, guidance, library media specialists that have extended days and extra duty increments, those are not in. This is just their base salary in this. That is what is considered part of the allocation. When you pull that down, the final number there is $40.25 million. That's just to have our schools up and operating and staffed from the general fund. Now, that's not all we do. We also have special ed departments. So I did the same thing with our special ed. This is based off looking at caseloads and what we pay out of the general fund. This is above federal dollars that we receive. To be honest with you, that is the worst written grant ever in history. For special education, IDEAB funds, we get $2 million. We spend about $14 million of our own money. That's what we are required. And each year there's a maintenance of effort on that. I have to report on that. And we're required to keep the same maintenance of effort as we did the year before. So we spend $14 million of our own to get $2 million federal dollars. Really
And
good.
those numbers are not in your previous slide, correct?
No. And, so that's a 600 to 700% matching. Yay. Really good grant. But so this is on top of the allocation. What I showed you before is just solely if you take the allocation formula, you put the number of kids in, you do all the math, that's the number of general fund teachers you get. This is on top of that. This is looking at caseloads and what we give them out of general fund dollars for staffing for special education. You can see there, it's another almost $9.1 million. Again, this is salaries only, does not include the fringe benefits on that. When you're talking classified staff, that's another 27.5% to add on to that number. So the benefits start getting pretty high as well. This next slide, this is utilities. So if you look there, water, gas, electric, garbage, that's another $3.1 million of your budget, 3.15 almost.
For utilities.
For utilities, just for our schools. Now, keep in mind, this does not include our Ignite Academies. This does not include any of our district facilities, any of our
This office.
This office does not include anything at Bellevue. This is solely just our elementary, NKA, our kindergarten academy, our elementaries, middles, and highs. So when you add that all together, just that portion alone is half of our general fund budget. So if you want to know where your general fund budget goes, that right there is half of it. Just to operate the schools, just to have the lights on, have people in the building ready to see smiling faces and teach them.
Do you have a different one for the Ignite Academies? And
No, I can pull
Okay.
that at some point for you guys, but it's not too bad. Those aren't, the utilities are fairly stable, things like that. We get some CTE funding that helps offset a lot of the costs there.
Why do you not figure that in there? It's because it's
Right.
another building from the Central's campus?
So we didn't put those in there. I didn't put those in there because I wanted to mainly look at what does the allocation piece. Basically, that's the piece I took from this is start with the
Okay.
allocation. We don't allocate teachers for there. We put teachers in there based on the program needs.
Okay.
So since it's not part of the allocation each year, that's the approach I took, was just looking from the allocation piece.
Mark, I might be getting a step ahead of you, but do you have just a roundabout figure about how much benefits cost us? I mean, I know we're looking at just
Fringe.
allocations, but
For this piece, no, I didn't run
That's
those
fine.
numbers, and
that's fine.
I'll be honest with you, at this point, the time I put into this, I do good to do 2 + 2 right now.
Listen, and I don't remember ever seeing this. This is,
Yeah, this.
right,
This
I
is
like how you have it broke
fantastic.
down, and I like your graphs. It just keeps getting better and better and better for us. So thank you. for
I
doing the
brought this
extra work.
into Mr. Neely today. Yesterday, I just got to thinking about it. And I was like, what could be some good data? And I think this is good data for our community as well.
Right.
Mhm.
We've still got supply costs, equipment costs, other things on top of all this that we have in each of these buildings. But, sometimes you see the news, you see the bad headlines that say districts are wasting money. We're a service industry. We are here to serve families and to serve students. Where are we putting our money? Well, right there you go. Just to have the lights on, have people in the buildings teaching students, we spend over half our budget just doing that, just for these schools. That doesn't even account for all the countless people on the district level that provide support for all of that. Educational support. They go in, they help teachers with needs to meet the specific needs of kids. You got, this doesn't even touch transportation. That's not one of the lines up there. We get up there, we add that in. We run transportation I pulled the total numbers 2 years ago and looked at them as compared to what the state funds us. And we were running at that time about 14 million total dollars. So you had another 14 million in there, and the state at that time was giving us 5.
well, you can't negate the fact that 78% of our budget goes to salaries, which is real jobs for
Sure.
Madison County.
Sure.
I mean, that is
And-
huge. It's not just taking care of our students, it's taking care of our
Community.
teachers and our community.
Yes. We are second largest employer in Madison County. Full-time people, we're running real close to 1,700 when you count our classified and our certified. When you add in all of our subs, we're running about 2,320. One of the last pulls I did. 2,300 people that we are providing some type of position to, some kind of work in our county. That's a pretty big lick. I've got a magazine that came in upstairs, and we were I think it said in our region, which includes Fayette County, we were the 5th largest employer.
We're talking about allocations. We try to get so precise so we don't have extra spending, that we have at least 3 meetings with the
Yes.
principals in the spring. And we're going to have one coming up next month with all administrators individually to show them the actual calculation. What does it all mean? Because it's a lot. And to these new principals, a lot of times they just come in and we say, here's what you're getting, here's what the money, okay. And they leave and they're like, I don't understand it. So we're going to bring them in here in October and go by their school and show the calculations and show them exactly why. Apples to apples, this is why you get it. Number of kids. so they can understand them and they can tell their staff. and
I think
whoever
that's
has
great.
questions.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And it's full transparency.
yeah, just.
For so many of our
Yeah.
school systems right
Yeah.
now are not transparent in what's going on with the budget. So
Well, I think one of the reasons that we've been able to stay so fiscally conservative is that you all hold so tight to those allocations. It's nothing to hear us come in and approve new positions
Sure.
as the need arises, but you all do such a nice job holding to that, that it's really helped keep us on track.
And when you look at that, so our average teacher salary, so you're averaging the high end with a
Right.
brand new 55,000. You add the benefits on that, you're at 60. So every time we add a position, basically you have to think about it from that standpoint. Anything we add above and beyond allocation, you're adding $60,000 to the budget. 3 of those, 180, you're almost $200,000. Just like that. And that was only 3 people.
and it's recurring.
And it's recurring.
It's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
So,
think that's what's got a lot of districts in the news.
yes.
You know, these are not one-time expenses, and I think we've all, with your help, we're very measured.
Mhm.
You know, we'd all love to pay all of our employees way more than we pay them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
We've only got, the pie can only be cut so many ways, and we can't bake any more pies.
no. You
Well,
know,
in the pie, the ESSER funding, you all were so meticulous and so strategic on how we spent that it didn't turn around and then cause the big deficit
Sure.
that a lot of districts are seeing, because it was so well thought out and so well planned.
And that was our fear going into that whole scenario was, hey, we have all this money thrown at us, but how do we make sure that long-term it doesn't become a negative?
Yeah.
And that's where, unfortunately, I think some people, that has happened to them and it's become a negative, and now they don't know how do we fight out? How do we claw out? And it's a long process.
We should have t-shirts made, the Mark Woods fan club.
I wouldn't go that far.
It would be wrong, those ESSER funds, to spend it on people. And
Right.
that's what we
Yeah.
didn't do.
Right. We tried to focus it on, there were some, but they were needs. We looked at needs. We looked at targeted intervention and ways and working with schools that, hey, if you're going to need that targeted intervention, how can you support this past the 3 years of these funds?
Right.
And, a lot of them are still funding that position. They're still keeping that because they found a benefit in it.
Mhm.
And that was our goal going into it, was how can we provide resources and some specialized people, but not get us so overweighted that, as we used to say, the tracks were ending and it was the last station on the trail run. And how do you get off the train? You got to get off on time, because you don't want to miss that train station and keep driving.
Right.
You're at the end of the tracks, you're just going to crash. So yes, we stuck to our allocation formula. That's very beneficial. That was done prior to me. I know Debbie Frazier and administrations way prior to me, they were very good about watching that. And that's why the district's in a position that we're in today, is because we had people that had the foresight to know that this is what you do. And, but I thought this was really good, because sometimes we get in these big numbers and we just look at the budget and, we think, oh, well, they've just got all kinds of cash, or, oh, hey, are the schools really, well, we're putting a lot of money in schools, and we try to. That is our goal, because if we're not, then kids aren't being educated properly.
And general fund's different than building funds.
100%, yeah.
We can't
It's
utilize
different
that money.
pots of
Yeah.
money.
And we've been able to leverage that, find things that maybe might qualify in those pots that you can, rearrange so that your general fund doesn't take a hit. But once they're restricted funds, that's what you have. You can pay bonds, or you can build facilities. And sometimes people look at that and they go, well, that's what the money's there for, and we can't do anything else with it. But we don't want our facilities to get bad anyway. We want to keep them up, because if you keep them up over time, as they're needing to be repaired, then you're not in despair because you got, oh man, how did I come up with this? So, that's another thing. And all of this, watching our financials, it plays into our bonding. This plays into our bonding capacity. When we get rated, they call me, we go through the financials. They ask me the strength of our general fund. They want to know all the numbers. And thankfully, because people before me have set the stage, we've been able to keep it up, and we get a better rating than most districts in the state, because most districts in the state have to take what the state qualifies for, and we're getting better interest rates, which then saves us money on our building. So it's a balancing act at the end of the day. Any questions over that piece?
Very informative, thank you.
Yeah, it's a
Very good.
lot of good information.
If you don't care,
Scribbled
can you
notes
just email
everywhere.
that to us? Yeah.
Are we putting that on our website or on our social media pages so people can see it?
I mean,
I don't know if you want
we,
to.
I don't know.
It's got to have some
It
context.
can
We gotta have a little dialogue.
Right.
before we
You
put
don't
it
want to
in.
just throw it up and people.
Yeah,
It's
it
gotta
would
have
have to have a
context
whole
with
lot
it.
of context that could,
It could go negative.
it
real
could
quick.
go
Right.
negative. Yeah,
Because there's a lot of keyboard warriors.
it could.
Well, they
Probably
don't
doesn't matter what
understand
you
it.
put.
Yeah.
They could say we're wasting a lot of money on utilities because but that's what it is.
Right.
You know, they
Right.
don't understand it. I
Right.
think
Yeah.
somebody asked, why did we spend so much on milk once? And they had to figure it out.
That milk mill is, it
It was
is.
high quality milk.
Yeah, that's
It
it.
is.
That's right. That's right. We're serving the best.
So if you don't know the back of it, you don't know. what
Yeah,
that-
yeah. So I probably wouldn't recommend that we do that just because of the context. It could cause some issues of people maybe not necessarily understanding. It's a little different when you have me able to stand up here and give you.
So
the
we'll just tell
context.
people to watch the
Hey,
school board
Carlos.
meeting.
We talked to anybody.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
You can, can't you?
all right. So now we'll jump into the meat and potatoes of the budget. We'll start there on page one. Page one starts a revenue portion of the general fund budget. You can see there at the top, we are starting with the amount that we ended from this last year. So our contingency held strong for last year, and we're bringing that into this year's working budget. You can see we do have, as we talked before, funds that we committed for salary increases that we're bringing in there to make this budget. And it is a balanced budget. I do want to make sure that I say that this is a balanced budget, and we are not projecting to touch our contingency.
Yeah.
So,
It's cost
Mark,
ourselves.
I want to point out something. So
Sure.
when we give raises, our
Mhm.
raise that we gave this year cost us $3 million.
It's a portion of it. We had some other expenditures in here, and that's actually down from, but yeah,
But it's a
so,
large, that's what I want people to
Yeah.
understand. It's not just a 2%, a 4%. We're talking millions of dollars is what it adds up to.
mhm. Yeah, so when we look at when we give a raise to the general fund, out of the general fund, a 1%, for every 1% you give, just the salary side of it's about $1 million. So you give a 2%, you're looking at 2 million plus the benefits that go along with it. And like I said, classified staff, the state does not pick up any portion of their, they don't provide any on behalf towards their retirement, towards any of that piece. So we get to pick up that. So that means their benefits cost us 27.5% of their salary. So you take whatever our classified is all the way down the line, multiply it by 1.275, and that's a big number.
Mhm.
So, I mean, when you take it just is. So, and then on the certified side, it's runs about 6.5%. Even with what the state kicks in, it's about 6.5% that you have to cover. So, you start adding all that in, and yeah, you get up to around $3 million to make it all work out. Then you factor in on top of that step increases for us are running about $1 million a year right now. So you take it was just shy of $1 million. So you're looking at just shy of the $3 million just to cover steps and 2% raise.
Hmm.
And that's one thing that I always have to look at as we're approaching the new year. The step raises, when they're $1 million, that's $1 million you got to come up with that you didn't have,
Last
The
year.
year
yeah,
before.
didn't have in your budget last year.
Mhm.
And when you say instead,
Hmm.
when I started 15 years ago, 31 years ago, you knew you were going to get a raise at 5, 10, 15, 20, and that was it. Now you get one.
Now
every year.
you get one more often. It's way
Yeah.
more often. And so those are raises. They're what you would say longevity raises. For staying with the district, you're rewarded for staying longer and getting experience and being a more experienced teacher or a more experienced para or what have you. And, we try to reward some of that because we want loyal people.
Absolutely.
We want people that know our district and people that know our kids. So that's why those are built in that way. But, we used to there was a time when I first started up and through COVID where your retirees kind of offset a bunch of that. People aren't retiring as much as they were before.
33.
And we're seeing that some of our experienced people are like, you know what? I'm going to stay another year. I'm going to stay another year. I like what I do. I'm going to stay another year. There was a point where they hit 27 and I don't blame them. But now more and more they're saying, you know what? I love working with these kids. I'm going to stay another year. Well, you're not getting the benefit of now you're hiring in a lesser experienced teacher and it offsets quite a bit of that step. We're not having that. So, automatically when you start looking at a new year budget, you know that there's $1 million tacked on just before you even start.
And those are in addition to the raises.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you had the steps that are automatically built in, and then we did a 2% on top of that, which actually made that 1% a little bit higher because it got multiplied by the 2%. So
But steps is a raise.
yes, it is.
Let's say that.
Mhm.
repeatedly.
No doubt.
I don't know.
It is a raise.
I know, they don't look at it.
Anything that's higher
But
than what
it's,
you did
it's a
before.
raise.
It is.
I just think sometimes it gets forgotten.
All right. So moving on down the page, you see we have our numbers for our property tax. That's our next biggest area that we collect revenue from. I always estimate those at 97%. We could have a little higher collections, but 97 is a good number when we start the budget. So I have done that. I did increase the motor vehicle tax based on the new assessments. That was a $300,000 increase. Moving down, you see utilities. I didn't change it. We've been kind of steady in that upper about 5.6 to 6 million. That just depends on the weather. Depends on the usage. And, so I try to go a little conservative when we start out till we get several months in, see how the collections have been. When we come back in January and we do adjustments to the working budget, if it looks like then that collections are higher because of utility rates and everything, the usage, then we'll adjust it at that point. But that's why we didn't make any changes there. Over on page 2, omitted property tax, those are based on state revenue audits, but that's kind of consistent where we've been, right around that 200,000 mark. On down, I made no change to the interest on investments. Last week, rate cuts happened on the Fed level. I talked to all my people and we instantly lost 1% on anything. Right now they're locked in. I've got several maturing in October, but I won't be able to get the 4%. So everything went down. T-bills went down to lower 3s. CDs will follow. So, we're going to see that number trend down. That's why I wasn't going to make any adjustment. You can see compared to prior years, we made a lot more money on that. People don't realize that that's a hit to our budget. We try to maximize our money because we do get our property taxes a big lump of it up front right at the end of November. Well, we don't need all the cash flow right then. So what do? We invest it to try and earn off of it so that we can find other ways to generate funds. Okay? We're going to cut into it this year. They're projecting 2 more rate cuts over the year. So hopefully those hold off, but we'll adjust that as needed. Moving on page 3, one of the areas you may see in line 1980, refund of prior year. I don't have a budget in there. Those are things like KEMI dividends and KSBA unemployment surplus funds. We won't know that until year end if they decide that there's any dividends to give or if there's surplus funds because everybody in the unemployment trust fund has kept their claims down. So that's why I never budget for that. We just look at that as a bonus to help us out throughout the year. You saw that number we brought in to help us out with the salaries. We would reduce that and put that back into our coffers for future if that happened. Seek, I made no adjustment versus the tentative. This does reflect the base funding increase to 4586 for this year. I didn't make an adjustment because my fear is they're going to cut our transportation funding. So I've made a projection. I think our SEEK should be based on our ending year AADA from the SAR. And our assessments actually came in lower than what I projected to KDE to get our numbers in May for SEEK. So those lower assessments means we would have a little bit less taken off of our SEEK. So it should generate us a little bit more SEEK money, but my fear right now is that they may, yeah, that's going up, but hey, we're pulling your transportation funding back and we end up at ground zero.
But they do it every year.
They do.
Yeah.
And they're actually supposed to have had our tentative SEEK to us already. I look back last year when they gave it to us last year on the day of the budget meeting. They're supposed to provide it to districts so that we can do our budget that's mandated by September 30th to be approved by you all and submitted to KDE. And here we are. I don't have their data. So that's where we're at. I decided that it's best for this round of the working budget, leave it stagnant, leave it flat, and we'll see what happens. Again, we can use that to offset some of the money that we brought in to cover salaries. And on that money, we had that money put back. That is not contingency. I do want to make sure that that's clear to everybody because some people may say, oh yeah, he's just, no, this was not contingency. We were looking forward and we had put back some money knowing that we were going to need to do raises and we would need a little bit of help with that beyond what our property taxes were going to generate. So that's what that money is from. Moving down to page 5, you'll see the note there. The on behalf, we've kind of talked about that. That's what the state provides towards health insurance and retirement. We have to record that as a revenue and an expense in our budget. It just makes our budget really odd looking, but just knowing that's in there. When I do some of the figures for you all, I take those out because that's not really our expenditure. And I take those out so that we can get true numbers of what we're actually doing. 4,300 line there, that's restricted direct to federal. That did increase versus the tentative. We have now filled all of our JROTC instructor positions. So we will be getting, they pay us half of the instructor cost. So that will go up. So I adjusted that up to account for that. On down, you'll see, sadly, I removed the line item for the CSEP bus lease. It is no more. So we have plans to auction. I think the auction is scheduled to go live soon to have those final buses sold off. So no more CSEP. That's been a good run in our budget. They've provided a lot of support for us over the years. They've been really good community partners, so I do thank them for that. But all
So
things come to an end.
huge.
So on page 6, you'll see the top line there. That's Medicaid revenue, 4810. That's dependent on, unfortunately, that's not just dependent on our billing. So we do a lot of numbers to bill for Medicaid. There are factors built into that that are based on everybody else's billing across the state that determines what we get paid back at. So there's a lot of factors in there. We call them haircuts because we give them the actual numbers and they just keep trimming and trimming and trimming until we get a nice haircut out of it. And, some of it, our biggest, our biggest piece of Medicaid billing, we get about 30 cents on the dollar of what we bill. So it's great we get it, but when you look at it and you run the numbers and you're like, wow, they keep cutting it, and it's the Fairbanks report, and at the end of the day, we get about 30 cents on the dollar. So, fund transfers, I increased that because that's based on the actual budgetary numbers. So that'd be money where we charge indirect to food service and a few other programs, the MOAs with KDE for staff that are working for them. They keep them on our payroll. We do all the financial side of it. They stay our employee until the MOA contract's over with. They pay us a little bit of indirect offset. It doesn't offset much, but supposedly to offset some of our costs. So that's what that line is. Page 7, you'll see there are totals. So total revenue, our receipts, which are actual money coming in, plus the items we brought in, $146,817,309.80. So that's your general fund, what your general fund budget is going to be based off for the year. Page 8 starts our expenditures. So I've kind of explained the process, the way this goes. We do our allocations, like Mr. Neely said, we meet with them about 3 times. We get that all ironed out. I usually start right at the end of July, beginning of August. I send all of the principals their staff listing that we have from those allocations. I work with HR to keep those updated and to show as we have people leave and this person replaced this person. And Dr. Brumbaugh is great about writing, hey, this person replaced this person. So I can go right to that list and I can drop it in there. And we try and keep those as updated as possible. Well, then I send those out to all the principals to say, hey, please take a look at your staff listing. Let me know if this is really who all you have. It provides an internal control. One, it is one of our internal control features so we can verify that we actually have valid people on our payroll. The second piece is for budgetary purposes. And I actually, that's what this report right here would be. That's every staff member in our district by where they're coded at in there and how much they're coded to each section. I go through that with the staff list, make sure we've accounted for everybody and that we have them properly coded to the proper funds and how they're supposed to be split between funds and everything. And that's where you see all these lovely little tabs. That's all the changes that we make throughout the budget. So it gives us a good internal control because I actually get to see everybody that's on payroll go through, make sure that everything looks and is in good order. We do all of that. That starts building this. At the end of the day, after steps, after the salary increases we did this past year, the net change in the general fund salaries was a reduction of $247,000. So we did a pretty good job estimating where we would be. Benefits were slightly up, but most of that is due to sick leave payouts that we had to make an adjustment for. That's when people retire through the system, that's one of the benefits. You get paid out on whatever sick leave you have banked up. So, and that gets to count towards your retirement. So it's, I did have to account for that, but it went up 189,000. Overall, I feel pretty good about how we estimated our salaries and benefits in the tentative. I think we hit pretty close. Some notable items throughout here, certified subs in the salary and benefits. We did have to increase that almost $185,000 to account for our actual sub costs. And classified subs, we had to increase that. I don't know that I'd looked at it in a couple of years in great detail, but it's about $384,000 that we had to, and that's just to get us to where we can cover and have enough to offset where we had a little bit of raises even in those to make sure that we can cover our sub costs for the next year. Moving through here, I gave you all some pretty decent notes. On page 10, the supplies category under business support services. I didn't want you all to think I was going hog wild spending out of there. Part of what software is what's included in that category. Munis self-serve that our employees use, Frontline. I can't remember the name of the company. It used to be Talent Ed, and I can't remember the name of the Power School. Thank you. That we do our online, our application, our all that stuff through. That's in that category. And of course, you know, software companies, they raise their fees every year. So I did have to increase that line versus the tentative budget. On page 11, we get in plant operation maintenance. 0600, that's one of the big categories. Electricity and natural gas are in the 0600 codes. So we did have to increase that. Overall, our utilities, we had to increase close to $300,000 in our budget for this year based on what our actuals ended up last year. 0400, that's where some of your other, that's where your water, garbage, and natural gas fall into, and water costs, everything. We did have to increase some of that. We've had rate increase notices from a couple of our utility providers recently. Moving on down, you'll see under student transportation, there's your buses are under property. If that looks a little high compared to prior years, I've got that note there. You see that we have carryover POs. Yes, we are still trying to get buses from fiscal year 24, 2 years ago. We're still,
We don't have them.
we don't have all of them yet. No, and Mr. Cash he stays on them, and we had 2 delivered. It's either beginning of this week or end of last week, and he rejected them. They were terrible. They had windows not sealed. They had wires hanging out everywhere. And he was like, no, that's not a finished product. So we had to send them back. So we're dealing with some of that they're coming off the line, and we can't even accept them to get them in our fleet. And we're
This
2
is a
years.
different company that we're dealing with?
Same company we've bought from for years.
Wow.
So,
Can you turn around a PO in a year?
You would think they
That's what
could.
they say.
Yep. So
It's a food truck.
we're working on that.
Maybe we need to look at a different.
Well, and that's something we've been talking about.
One more.
So
I'm thinking on the flip side of that, I mean, if I've turned out a product, I'd kind of like to be paid for it.
yeah. And you know, for us, we don't pay till we get product in hand. So they send us invoices all the time. And I'm like, yeah, no,
Interesting.
sorry, we're not paying that.
How many are we talking from 2024?
From 24, I think we still have 4 of those that we're waiting on. I think we've gotten it down to 4. But
Do we have like a statute of limitations on how long we can accept those?
yeah, bad part about it is we need them.
Yeah.
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 We need
Yeah,
more than we got
seriously-
ordered.
we seriously
yeah.
need to consider looking at when the time comes. looking at
Yeah,
different
and he
companies.
is. He's been talking to some of the other providers. The problem is they're the only company that offers the 84 passenger or whatever.
Oh, the large one.
Yeah,
The other 76.
So we've not received the bus.
no,
Mm-mm.
But if we can't get the
Okay, I'm
bus, we
sorry.
might as
I
well
thought
go
they
with smaller.
just hadn't billed us for them.
no, well, they try, but
They
we're
try.
not.
Trying to bill us.
We're
but
No.
not
We're
paying.
not paying it to them.
I'm sorry, I totally.
This just accounts for the PO expenditure that hangs out there
That
so
makes
that we
sense.
make sure we have funds obligated to cover
I
those.
apologize. I totally.
Mhm.
totally
No, but
forgot
they
that.
brought some really faulty products and we sent them back. So
So if they still owe us 2024, what about all the 2025 10?
we still got some buses off of it too.
How many are we lacking? Do you know?
I don't know the full total. I think there's about 4 from 24 and then maybe close. We started getting some of the 25s in. It was like weird. And we were still waiting on the ones off the 24 PO. So, and I think we may be around 6 of those. I'm not for sure, 100% for sure. I'd have to ask Mr. Cash.
So at what
Yeah, and
point
that's
do we?
crazy when you think of we're buying 10 each year
Yeah.
and we're behind
Mhm.
6.
We're now behind
Yeah.
10.
So at what point do you cancel the PO? and
Right.
Purchase from someone
wondering.
else to catch up? Is that
Problem is some of those others are backed up because everybody's bought from them and we're still kind of sitting.
Because from what I'm understanding, we need to buy more than 10 buses
Mm.
this year.
Every
Because
year we
we're
buy 10.
We're behind. We're going to be behind from like
We're okay.
15 years.
No, we're going to get these. Once we get these in and we buy our 10, we'll be on schedule.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
just
So
where
are-
we don't have these.
It's just where we don't have these and we
We're all
still have
together.
money in the budget to cover what's hanging out there so that we can get those paid.
So are these going to be 24 models or are these going to be 25 models?
No, they're just now rolling off the line. So they'll be
Okay,
newer
I'm just making
models.
They'll be down there.
but-
It's just where we order some handicap buses, some of the shorter buses, and we ordered the 84. So we ordered like 3 different models.
Yes.
out
Yeah,
of the
we
10.
do.
Yes.
And we always vary how
Mhm.
many from each year, so.
Based on our needs and
Yeah.
what's depreciating out and getting ready to come off the schedule, we try and make sure
We
we
try to do
replace
10 every
those.
year.
Well,
Yeah.
I just throw
At a
our
minute.
budgets way off.
So does it seem to be just the one particular type of bus or all over the board?
24 and
I'm not
25.
sure on that. I haven't been in the weeds that far with him. I've been letting him, he can have that fine.
I believe it's just the big ones.
You just don't pay the bill.
I just don't pay the bill.
There you go.
Till somebody can confirm to me that we have a big yellow bus sitting there that's operable, I do not pay the bill. Of high quality, yes.
And we drive it.
That's what I find
That has been test driven and
interesting
road
if they send the
approved.
bill.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure.
I did not know that we were messing up.
all right, moving on down, page 13, we're getting towards the end of the general fund budget here. Line 0900, about middle of the page there, that's our match requirements, CATS match. We have another grant that we have to shift some money over to match, $5,000. So that's what that is. And then you can see we are projected to end with our full contingency, with a balanced budget and our full contingency in place. So that's my goal every year, is to keep that contingency in place. The other day I was running payroll. So when we run payroll, we have a process where my 2 groups, my classified and certified, they do their entering, they get everything ready. My person that does certified gets another portion of the processing ready, and then they tell us to look through it. And then I either go through it, or a lot of times Nina, our director of financial services, will go through it. There's some reconciling that we do, look at everybody's payrolls, things that are out of place. We look for those. We get it to another step in there. We send it back to the certified person who finalizes it. And then we call the bank. We do everything with transferring the file, that type of thing. And when I was going through there, I pulled, and we're now at about $3.6 million per payroll. So 3.6, that's that 11 million doesn't go very far when you're churning out 3.6 every time you roll a payroll. So
4 months maybe.
Mhm. But you always said you wanted to try to at
3
least
and a
have
half.
3 months
well,
payroll
yeah,
in case something happens.
we're not hardly there. So,
Mm-mm.
but hey, we're keeping it back. We're keeping it steady. We're keeping what we've got, and I feel good about that for this budget. Couple other things. When you were looking at it in your packet, you may have noticed that Fund 2 was way less this year than it was last year in total. Last year, we had a Gear Up grant. Gear Up ended at the end of the school year. That was $951,000 in the budget last year. And we had the last little bit, $5.6 million of ESSER money that we spent out by September. So those were in the budget. That accounts for the big changes in there. The rest of it is pretty much just balancing. Fund 21, that's school money that they sweep over. I've decided now KDE lets me get that through without putting a budget in. So there's no sense in me budgeting that. I don't know how much they're going to sweep. They don't know how much they're going to sweep. So it just makes sense to leave that as zero. Fund 25 that's in there, that is where we have to bring in all the student activity funds that we house in a different accounting system that I monitor and the schools cut checks for. That's where we bring that in. I do that entry once a year. I just finished that in the last 2 weeks. That was a fun entry. I had to get that done so we get our AFR to the auditors who've been in visiting us in the middle of budget. So it's been a little bit busy. 28 starts capital outlay. That's the restricted funds that we talked about, restricted for building. That's $100 per AADA that we're required to set back of our SEEK funds in that. That's just taking what our, the main changes in there on the restricted state revenue and lowering interest. But the restricted state revenue is based off of our AADA from our SAR. So that's what we should receive. Page 30 starts the building fund, our Nichols taxes. So about right around 18 cents of every dollar that we collect in taxes has to go into this fund. So we don't get a dollar for dollar on our taxes. It has to go into this because that's what it's established for. And that can be used for bond payments and building projects. So you can see there that I made adjustments to the taxes for the year. It's actually a decrease in the budget because we had estimated our everything a little bit higher to KDE, and when they told us what our requirement was for this, it was based on a higher assessment data, so it should come down. This is what I'm projecting it to be. Moving on through the rest of the budget, Fund 360, that's just to show where the money from 310 and 320 that do not go to bond payments, we have to budget it in construction for the budget process. So it's just an in and an out. Doesn't really have a lot other than that. After that, you have Fund 400 that's on page 37. That's your annual bond payments. I work with our advisors to keep those up to date of what those cost. And then page 40 starts Fund 51. We went through there, made adjustments for salaries and other things and equipment, different things. And Nina does that budget for me, and she's worked through that. So in total, you get down to the end, you can see all of our summaries. Page 51, I do believe. Yep, 51 starts all the summaries there. I will take any questions you might have. Anything I may not have covered that you may want to know.
Fabulous job as usual.
Thank you.
Any questions? Great job. Back in my day, I would love numbers like this, but yeah, way over my head now. Okay, if there's no questions, then we need to make a motion to approve the 2025-2026 working budget as presented. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock. Who said that? Ms. Cobb?
And I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Burford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 4C, to consider the bids for the Clark Morris Middle School dugout project. Do we have any questions? Chris is here to answer anything we have.
Are you
We
happy?
got some information earlier.
Yeah, he's very satisfied. This is different
Get up, it's
than
your
Madison
chance
Central
to shine.
Dugout
Yes.
Come
project.
on, Chris.
Come on, it's your chance to shine. You got less than
You
3
get
minutes.
sued on, yeah, come on.
So yeah, I feel like all the numbers were good numbers. We fished a little bit ahead of time to see what we thought costs were gonna be. And they were about the 150-ish range. And then we did the RFP, put it out, solicited bids, divided the bid packages up into 3 bid packages, allows a little more participation. It also allows, which is something I like to do, is allow some of our local, smaller contractors that can't bond big projects, but this gets the jobs and the numbers down there where they can handle it. So then the people we go to ask support our kids, ask support our schools, have an opportunity to compete and apply for some jobs and make some money. So the total cost ended up being 135, 176. So we saved 15, 20,000 over what we had originally thought it would be. That's 33,794 a dugout. So I think it's a good number. We have to do a lot of things now for the city and the codes that we wouldn't have done probably in the past for a dugout, but they just require it. We have to do it. All those things add expenses and add cost. I'm not going to say it's unnecessary, but it's expensive.
What's this projection of getting these done? I know everybody wants to hear this.
Great question.
Well, you all hopefully approve it
Approved it.
tonight.
Mhm.
And then the timeline would be based off your all's approval. We're going to do a pre-construction meeting September the 30th, which is next Tuesday. And then they will be able to commence work on October 1st. Hopefully we have them done before the beginning of the year. And these will be different.
And there's 4 total, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
2 for the top on baseball and 2 for download for softball.
That's good. I was gonna have you say that because I'm sure they're wondering like, what is this for?
Yeah. So everybody gets the same thing, brand new, equal fare, right?
Right.
That's right.
Any other questions? If not, let's entertain a motion to award the following bids for the Clark Morris Dugouts project. Bid package number 1, concrete and structural steel to Circle G Excavating for $53,560. Bid package number 2, unit masonry with grouted steel reinforcement to McIntosh Masonry for $37,296. Bid package number 3, wood framing, shingles and roofing sheet metal to Stewart Contracting for $44,320. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Brock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 4D is to create and ratify LBD teaching position, and that would be your homebound teaching position. So do we have a motion? Any questions? Do we have a
Is this for the
motion?
entire district or
Mhm.
assigned
Yep.
to a particular?
It's for special needs kids who are on homebound.
Mhm.
We keep adding them, so.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Rutherford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. 4E, create and ratify 2 athletic site managers. Of course, this is 0.52 of the high school athletic director stipend. I don't know what I was supposed to say there, but it's part of the athletic
Just
stipend.
noted,
That's
yeah.
what I wanted to say, but I didn't know where the
Madison
52
said.
come from.
Yeah.
All right, so the motion would be to create and ratify 2 athletic site manager positions at Madison Central High School at $1,500 stipend, each paid for through their school athletic funds. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Berper. Do we have a second?
I'll
Lord.
second.
Second by Ms. Cobb. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Ms. Cobb, you're so
That was so much-
quiet. I can't tell who it is over there.
Need me to speak up a little bit?
Yeah, put the mic down.
Yeah.
All right, 4F, create and ratify two paid football assistants. And this would be an entertaining motion to create and ratify two paid assistants for Madison Central High School football at $1,177 each to be paid for by school athletic funds. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rutherford. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Brock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Do we have any comments from the board?
Mr. Woods, we're so appreciative.
Yes,
You're-
thank you.
I feel like our board is always in great hands financially because you're extremely conservative, but you're a leader in the field. I know the other districts look to you for advice, and we're just very, very fortunate to have you on our team.
You know, he gave praise to the past two,
Mhm.
but it takes somebody to follow that to be
Yeah.
just as good. So bravo to you.
It's my team, you know, so I
Well,
have
you
to
do
agree.
have to have a team. That's true. But we'll give you the credit and you can give it to them.
And we'll thank them all.
Good job.
Take it because you'll get calls tomorrow.
All right. Any other comments? If not,
Had a
enter-
parade tonight and Central's homecoming tomorrow.
Mhm.
Everybody smile and wave at us when we go down the street going.
Here's some candy. Looks like you had a bunch coming, but yeah. Big night tonight and tomorrow.
And a big game, yeah. Friday night.
Here we go. Can we entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Burford. All in favor, say aye.
I'm louder. than you.
Motion carried.
I'm right here.
We are now adjourned.
What time is it?